Hello guys, and please be very attentive, turn on your critical thinking and just imagine similar news updates in 2022. Fire destroyed testing grounds of new rocket in Moscow, the Russian Federation. No electricity on the streets of Belgorod after a missile strike on military energy facility there. Another oil refinery destroyed in Bashkortostan, 1,400 kilometers away from the Ukrainian border. And during this day, Russia lost 5 tanks, 1 Grad system in Donetsk region, 1 KA-52 helicopter, extremely expensive, and also destroyed by its own pilot MiG-31. These are super expensive. It was on a mission to bomb Ukrainian cities, but karma interfered. Russia is on fire. Russia is destroying itself from within, and our task is just to speed up the process. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the defeat and collapse of the Kremlin, subscribe, we discuss all of that on the channel. And I literally had to make a list of these updates from the Russian Federation that seemed totally impossible at the beginning of Putin's special military operation, but now is the new normal for the Russian Federation, and actually many Russians inside start speaking that maybe the aim of this special military operation is to destroy Russia, not Ukraine. This is exactly how it looks when more and more of the Russian cities have no electricity. This is true for Bryansk, this is true for Belgorod for the third time during the week. Contrary to Ukrainians who had to adapt and adjust since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, Russians don't want to do anything. They keep blaming either the Russian local authorities and failing air defense or Ukrainians for defending ourselves too effectively. Anyway, it's important to understand that Russia is super vulnerable not just on the front lines but deep inside the rear. Another oil refinery out of many destroyed in Bashkortostan. Bashkortostan is a republic with a great potential to become independent one day, and what's interesting, it is located 1,400 kilometers away from the Ukrainian border. This week, by the way, Ukrainian armed forces broke a record and reached military facility in Tyumen that is 2,000 kilometers away. So we use our own long-range weapons, and this is extremely important for the implementation of the only working peace plan to defeat and demilitarize Russia. So this is the new reality of Russia. Electricity outages, gasoline crisis, and now a serious failure near Moscow. Perhaps this one was created by the Russians themselves without any interference of the Ukrainian drone sanctions, but traditional Russian negligence. Putin now tries to pretend that everything goes according to his plan. Well, yes, if his plan is to destroy the Russian Federation. And by the way, there are rumors that people in Russia start believing that Putin is not an FSB but an CIA agent sent to destroy Mother Russia. If you want to know more, check my new video on Anna Danilchuk channel and let me know what do you think. But in Moscow, they tried to test a new rocket, a new missile, so they are able to threaten Ukraine, Europe, the United States, I don't know, aliens. But they failed, just as they failed with Oreshnik, by the way. After several tests, nothing followed. So anyway, near Moscow, the capital of the Russian Federation, that quite often now is a no-fly zone, that has lots of closed and airports, cancelled flights, explosions in their military facilities, and now fire and smoke on the testing grounds. I even put down the name of the location, you can check it, and that was Scientific and Testing Center of the rocket and space industry in Peresvet, that is the suburbs of Moscow. So perhaps something went wrong, they were in a hurry, or they used old Soviet schemes, or they do not have enough professionals to do the job, or it's simply a typical Russian testing process, but everything is covered in smoke, fire, and by the way, Russians that now panic about the Ukrainian military industry developments may think that this was done by the Ukrainian drones. Subscribe to witness the collapse of the Russian Federation. That is a natural process, and please share these videos to spread the truth. It's super important. During this week alone, actually during just one and a half days, Russia destroyed a lot of their own weapons and vehicles, in particular MiG-31. This was an evil Russian bomber capable of carrying missiles, and it was actually carrying missiles. It was flying over Lipetsk region in the direction of Ukraine, and then God decided to protect us and destroyed that MiG. I don't know how. It landed with a very loud explosion on the side of the Russian Federation. So they lost an extremely important, very expensive aircraft, taking into account that we also keep targeting them with Ukrainian missiles, with Ukrainian drones, and Russians help us with their traditional negligence. So minus MiG-31 and minus one KA or K, that would sound in Russian, 52, that is a combat helicopter, and Russian media publics reported the loss of such helicopter together with the crew. You know, it's very easy to save lots of Russian lives by simply stopping this war, returning back to their legal borders, and if they do want to fight, they have what to do. They have a lot of problems inside Russia, in particular in Moscow, in particular in the center of Moscow, the Kremlin. What is also important, we not only rely on this Russian negligence, we also keep demilitarizing things that they live on the legitimate Ukrainian territory. And it's important to know that today the Ukrainian armed forces have destroyed 5 Russian tanks. That's a lot, taking into account that now they take away tanks from the museums. They use old Soviet crap, but the nation that uses donkeys and describes that as logistics, as innovation, is totally okay with using this museum exhibits on the front lines. So the destruction of 5 tanks is very bad for the Russian army. That happened in the temporarily occupied Donetsk region, together with the destruction of another Russian Grad system. This is evil. They try to target a lot of Ukrainian positions with it, so the destruction of it means a lot of innocent Ukrainian lives saved. So, during just one day, we may speak about tremendous problems inside the Russian Federation: burning oil refinery in Bashkortostan, explosions on the testing grounds near Moscow in Peresvet. We know about electricity outages, very unplanned electricity outages in Belgorod. This demonstrates that right now Russia is an active war zone, and with each day, the territory within the reach of the Ukrainian long-range drones, Ukrainian homemade missiles, is growing bigger and more important. That is a change in the course of this war, and that's why I actually asked you to be very attentive, to turn on your critical thinking, because unfortunately there are still politicians who keep describing Russia as invincible when in reality dozens and dozens of its regions are burning. Luckily, only legitimate military targets, but still they are within the reach of the Ukrainian armed forces, and Russian air defense keeps failing. Russia is a no-fly zone, and Russia is losing money. That's the reason why millions of Russians withdraw trillions of rubles during these months. That is the best demonstration that Russians who cheered for this war do not believe they can win. And they sense the dissolution of the Russian Federation just as they sensed the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Trust me, it has already started. And to be able to decode the signs, to understand what's really happening with the Kremlin and with the people who wanted this special military operation and now feel it inside their own country, subscribe and share these videos to spread the truth. Push notification bell. This helps a lot. Also follow me on other social media platforms like Instagram, X, Threads, Blue Sky, Discord. The links you will find in the description of this video, same as the link to our merch shop with lots of good items that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel, but most importantly, thank you for standing with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!